Hello, I'm Daryl Simmons of the Arkham Chronicler. 1926 has been a rough year for Arkham. The murder rate has gone up, and so have disappearances. And can all this really be blamed on rum runners, like our mayor says? And what about the strange sightings of creatures? Fish that walk on two legs, gnarled trees that stomp around through the forest? And just who is the Silver Twilight Lodge? And why have all these sightings been seen upon their land? All these questions and more can be answered in this Realms of Cthulhu, a book by Preston, and the Arkham-based publishing studio Reality Blurs. Now, Realms of Cthulhu is a Savage Worlds product, which means that you will need this, the Savage Worlds Explorers Edition, a $10 purchase, to get the full set of rules. Now, if I was asked before reading Realms of Cthulhu if Savage Worlds was a good system to run a mythos game, I would have said no, and I would have been wrong. You see, Savage Worlds is a pulp sort of game. The characters are tough and they are capable, but they're still very much human. And think the hard-boiled detectives from a film noir. That is the sort of characters that you will be playing in a Savage Worlds Realms of Cthulhu game. Now, speaking of which, Realms of Cthulhu has added a sanity system, as you would expect from a mythos game. And it is very similar to the physical wound system that is already in place in Savage Worlds. Seeing mythos beasts, or seeing spells, or experiencing mental trauma, this will attack your character's new sanity stat, just as knives and bullets attack their toughness stat that is already in the game. And just as characters can gain permanent or temporary wounds, the mind will gain permanent or temporary insanities throughout gameplay. The physical and mental dangers are tracked on a scale called pulpy or gritty. And the pulp rules are actually what is in the standard Savage Worlds books. The gritty rules are new to Realms of Cthulhu, and they are much more dangerous both physically and mentally. So you can mix it up. For example, you could have pulp physical damage rules to keep the characters around longer, but you can use the gritty rules for the sanity system to make them go insane rather quickly. For my money, I would actually use pulp for both. This will keep the characters around longer and keep their sanity intact just long enough for you to get some use out of them. And it also gives the game a bit of a different feel. If you're playing the basic role-playing Call of Cthulhu, the extremely gritty and dangerous one, that's their flavor. I feel that if you're playing in Savage Worlds, you might as well adopt that flavor and have something that is a bit more adventurous, but it is still a dangerous world. Something like a deep one, or a cultist, or a ghoul. This is the sort of challenge that can be overcome by a group of investigators, but when a Shoggoth arrives, it's still a bit of run faster than one of your friends. For character creation, there are new edges and new hindrances, merits and flaws in any other sort of system. Now, many of the new ones have to do with sanity because it's the new mechanic, but not all of them are using the sanity system. My new favorite hindrance is the dark secret, and this does nothing at first, but if your dark secret gets out, when your dark secret gets out, you become wanted, and you gain a massive charisma penalty. This means that the rest of Arkham has found out that you are a foul cultist, or perhaps that you have deep ones in your ancestry. There's also a new rule for characters' interests. You see, in Savage Worlds, the skills are very broad. A skill like driving covers any and all land vehicles. Now, your character in Realms of Cthulhu gains one interest per level of the smarts stat that they have. So, for example, let's say I have a character who one of his interests is horse racing. So this will give me a +1 to knowledge checks that involve my interest. So, for example, if I'm looking for a good place to gamble, it'll give me +1 to that. It may even give me +1 when I'm looking at the horses and seeing which one seems healthy. It may also give my character a +1 to find a good bookie, or to find a good place in Arkham for a bit of illegal gambling. There's also a short gear section, which, to be honest, is a bit underwhelming. You see, it has weapons and vehicles, which is useful, and this is for the time periods of 1890, 1920, and modern day. That's all well and good, but at the same time, it doesn't give you any information on goods and services. So if you're wondering how much a hotel room and a nice suit cost in 1920, unfortunately, you're out of luck. And then we come to the Keepers section. This has general game mastering tips, but also advice for running horror and mystery games specifically. Now, this is always very important to have in any book about running a mythos game because these two themes are extremely difficult to run. You have to be very careful with them, and they are, after all, what Realms of Cthulhu is about. So having this information is very important, and it is very useful. The information in here is good, if not fantastic. I give it a solid B+. Next is the magic section. In addition to a small table for rolling up your own mythos tome, it has a list of all of the classic mythos tomes that you have come to know and love and fear throughout the years. Now, keep in mind that this is just a list of these tomes. It gives the name of the book, the language that it's in, the usefulness of the book for researching the mythos, and how many spells might be inside of it. It does not tell you what the Necronomicon is. It does not tell you the history of the Book of Eibon, and it does not explain what Onauspredigten Kulten is either. So if you have not come across these tomes in reading other H.P. Lovecraft works or in playing other mythos games, Realms of Cthulhu will not let you in on these secrets. Now, the mythos tomes are how the characters will learn spells. It is also one way to gain the mythos knowledge skill. As this skill rises, your sanity trait, your mental toughness, begins to lower. So, in gaining knowledge, you become more susceptible to madness. Now, the spells bring in the classic spells that you know from other mythos games. So, there will be the Dread Curse of Azathoth, and there will be the Contact Entity spell for speaking with the strange ghouls and learning secrets of the Dreamlands. There are also, you can also use the spells that are in the base Savage Worlds book. So when you gain the spell Magic Bolt, you now give it a mythos flavor instead and turn it into Withering. So you can cruelly mummify your foes. And these spells are not cast in a ritual manner like the others, and they are done with a mythos knowledge roll to cast it, and it takes one action in a round to do these spells. There are also 4 short mythos tales, sample adventures for you to run. Each is 2 pages, so these are sort of bare bones story skeletons for you to add the flesh onto. But they're very good, and once you do this, you will gain at least 1 gaming session out of each one. For example, there is a cursed exhibit that will cause a mystery in the museum. There is an alien obelisk that has been discovered in the Antarctic. And there is a strange laughing sickness causing people to laugh themselves to death when the full moon rises. How will your investigators approach these strange tales? There is also a table for you to roll up your own mythos mystery. This is quite fun to roll up something random, and then you will take the skeleton and you'll add muscle and then skin, and you'll bring down the lightning bolt and bring your mythos mystery to life. I rolled up a random tale before this video, and I'll explain to you a bit how this works. So I rolled up that the plot hook is an ally character will ask for something. The story linchpin is about an object, and I rolled up an art object. The story location is in a castle or a mansion. The proximity is local, and the plot type is a rescue mission. And the plot complication that I rolled up is a betrayal. So we can put all these things together and flesh out a story. So Sir Chedwick Bartleby, your eccentric art collector friend, has bought an obsidian statue of a strange fish-like humanoid. Now, it has bound him to his home. He cannot escape. And he is called for your help via telegraph. Now, when the investigators arrive to Sir Bartleby's mansion in Arkham, Massachusetts, it is a trap. Instead, he binds them into his home as well, and Bartleby and a few deep ones hunt the investigators through the mansion grounds, hoping to sacrifice them to Dagon and Hydra. But there is also a fifth mythos tale, and this one is longer. It is 9 pages long instead of 2, and it is called The Secrets of Drake Manor. If the other mythos tales were bare bones, this one is bones and at least some musculature. But it is up to you to add flesh and life to the tale. Now, it is a very good introduction to the mythos, although the hook that is supposed to drag you in is very weak. But this story, The Mystery of Drake Manor, hits all the classic mythos checkmarks. It has a family with dark secrets. It has dark sorcery and sacrifice. It has a mythos creature or two. And it has some mythos tomes for the characters to research and to fear. It also has a murder mystery, and it ends with some of the plot hooks being a bit open for you to expand upon with further use and in further game sessions. And then there is the NPC chapter. And this has many human allies and enemies that you can use, and they're statted up here. And so you can easily whip up a doctor when one of the player characters desperately needs his leg reattached. Of course, that doctor may also be a mutated dark cultist. There is a table in there for rolling up random dark gifts and mutations that are bestowed upon the worshippers of the dark gods. There is also a table for you to roll up your own completely new and completely random creature. After all, who knows what beasts that the Dreamlands itself will spill forth into our world. All the mythos creatures you would expect make an appearance in this chapter as well. Each of the dark gods and the great old ones is given a write-up explaining what they are, what they're about, and what some of their goals might be. The dark gods are of course not given any stats beyond the sanity damage that you will take if you even glimpse them in a vision. However, the stats are given for the rest of the mythos creatures, all the classics, including the Shoggoths, the Deep Ones, the Migo, and the Loigor, and the Gugs. Now, what little art is in this section is quite good, but it's a bit scarce. Now, in this section, Realms of Cthulhu, I think, assumes that you are at least a little familiar with what these creatures are and what they're supposed to be. Now, each one is given a write-up of their lore and of their ecology. Some of this is a bit sparse, though, and for some of them, there is little to no description of what they look like. This, coupled with the fact that there is not that much art, might leave you wondering what the heck a Gug is exactly supposed to look like. Now, since this is Savage Worlds and it is a universal system, you now have the statistics for all sorts of strange mythos beasts. This means that you can bring them in to a dark fantasy setting, or you can bring them in to your Pirates game as you explore a strange and mysterious island. You can bring them into a sci-fi setting or into a post-apocalyptic setting. Perhaps it is the mythos that brought about this apocalypse. You can even bring it into Deadland, another horror game in the wild and weird American West. So when that strange fellow from Arkham, Massachusetts makes it west, what exactly does he have in that book bag? And what are the strange dark creatures that are now skulking around Tombstone, Arizona? Now, all in all, I do feel that Realms of Cthulhu is an excellent addition to the mythos gaming as a whole. It is a very good book, but if it is your first mythos book, if you have not read any of H.P. Lovecraft's stories, if you have not read any of the other RPG books, or if you've not played the board games such as Arkham Horror and Mansions of Madness, you might find that you're missing a few pieces of the mythos puzzle. However, if you have some mythos knowledge, you cannot go wrong with Realms of Cthulhu. Now, before I go, I must mention, be wary, because it is, after all, Halloween, and around this time of year, the veil between our world and the Dreamlands grows thin. So beware. In the night, there may be some ghouls.
Von Louis.